Hey guys, it's Nate Ayers. I'm the principal at Holly Pond High School, and I am so excited to be hanging out with you guys this evening and reading you a bedtime story. And our selection for the day is the Enchanted Unicorn Adventure. So let's get after it. Aurora, who was known as Briar Rose at the time, was teaching her aunts how to plant a garden. For weeks, they had tended to the seeds, watered, weeded, and waited. And the buds were finally starting to show. "Oh, won't they hurry up?" Merriweather said. "It'll be worth the wait," Briar Rose said. But Merriweather didn't like waiting. Later that night, she approached the other ants. "You know what would make the flowers bloom?" she whispered to Fauna. "Magic." "Oh, for goodness sake," Flora muttered. She went to the cabinet where their magic wands were hidden. "No wands," she scolded. "We promised." Everyone got ready for bed, but Briar Rose couldn't fall asleep. She had planned a surprise for her aunts, and she thought it might be revealed that night. Under the light of the moon, something wonderful was happening. "They're blooming," Briar Rose cried as she dashed down the stairs and out the front door. "But how could that be?" Fauna asked. "The sun has already set," Flora said to Merriweather, giving her a stern look. "It wasn't me," Merriweather cried. Briar Rose ran outside with her aunts following close behind. They were all excited to see the flowers. Sure enough, the garden was bursting with blooms. "Surprise!" Briar Rose shouted. "Incredible," Flora observed. "How can flowers bloom without sun? It's almost like, magic." "Well," Briar Rose began, "we planted special seeds. Evening primrose, moonflower, and night blooming flowers," Fauna interjected. "I should have known." Just then, a branch snapped. Briar Rose turned and couldn't believe her eyes. In the corner of the garden, a family of unicorns was grazing on the moonlight blooms. The baby's horn glittered. Briar Rose's eyes were glued to the magical creatures. "Unicorns only come out at night for fear of being seen," Flora said to Briar Rose. "They must have smelled the flowers, and they eat those petals." Briar Rose plucked a few petals, then offered her cupped hand to the baby unicorn. It licked Briar Rose's hand as it ate. It tickled. "We should let them be," Merriweather suggested. "You can eat as much as you want," Briar Rose said softly to the unicorn family. "You're safe here." Briar Rose and her aunts headed back to their cottage. It had been a great day, and Briar Rose was very proud of their night blooming flowers. She couldn't wait to check on her enchanted visitors the next night. Meanwhile, Maleficent's raven was out for a night flight. He spotted something unusual and immediately reported it back to Maleficent. In her castle, Maleficent was not pleased. "Unicorns in that pesky cottage garden? We'll have to do something about that," she said. Maleficent didn't like anything out of the ordinary, and unicorns were the most extraordinary creatures of all. She would have none of it. When I'm through, no one will be able to enjoy these flowers." Maleficent began to form her evil plan. She knew how she could get rid of the enchanted creatures, but she would have to act fast. Her raven flew back off to the garden. Moments later, a flurry of frost flooded the tower window. It moved fast, heading straight for Briar Rose's gardens. "Those unicorns will have a hard time finding something to eat now," Maleficent said. Early the next morning, Briar Rose rushed to the garden, but her excitement quickly turned to confusion. "What bad luck," she cried. She feared her garden was ruined. Even worse, it seemed her unicorn friends were out of food. Briar Rose had to help. She grabbed her cloak and a basket and walked down a narrow path. Perhaps some flowers are blooming elsewhere in the forest, she thought. She noticed the frost hadn't traveled far. She walked until nightfall, then Briar Rose caught a glimpse of a moving bush. It was the mother unicorn. The mother unicorn had been chomping at a patch of wildflowers. "Are you trying to bring food back for the baby?" Briar Rose asked. The unicorn whined. "Let me help," Briar Rose said, and together they plucked an entire bouquet. When Briar Rose and the mother unicorn returned to the moonlit garden, Briar Rose sprinkled petals across the snow. The next morning, Briar Rose checked on her bouquet, and to her dismay, the flowers were already wilting. Briar Rose grabbed a gardening book and flipped through the pages. "I didn't let the frost stop me then, and I won't let the wilted flowers stop me now. There are flowers that bloom even when it's cold and snowy." "Did we plant any?" Meriwether asked. "We did," Briar Rose answered. "Forget-me-nots. With a little help, they'll be ready by nightfall." Briar Rose gathered her gardening tools while Meriwether roused the other ants. They carefully watered the plants to clear and melt the snow. Next, Briar Rose instructed Fauna to prune and trim the dead leaves. Flora gathered the debris and cleared it away. By the end of the day, the garden looked good as new, and poking through the soil in the corner of the garden was a burst of flowers. The forget-me-nots had blossomed. Just then, the baby unicorn trotted forward and sniffed the blue petals. It started eating, and Briar Rose patted the creature's head. "I can't believe I have enchanted friends to visit with every night," Briar Rose said. Flora gave the other ants a sideways glance. "My dear," she began, "as you know, the flowers only last for a season." "I'm afraid unicorns are similar," Meriwether added. "They don't stay in one place for long," Flora said. "But don't fret," Fauna interjected. "Maybe they'll come back again next year." "Just like the flowers," Briar Rose replied. As her aunts wrapped her in a warm hug, Briar Rose was certain of one thing. She could overcome any obstacle that was thrown her way, especially with the help of her family. And that is the end of our bedtime story time tonight. Again, I'm Nate Ayers, and it was such a good time to hang out with you tonight. And I want to remind you, like we do our students and staff every single day, that it's a great day to be a Bronco. Have a great night.